Thunderstorm. Here we go. Let's see if we can get a vlog of them going here. Oh. That's what it sounds like. Thunderstorms. Maybe they can hear too. Are you actually broadcasting from this? Hello, everybody. We were playing Tundra Swans. There you go. Be listening for this time of the year because they're migrating through. Okay, well, who's ready to move on with the event? Hopefully you've all warmed up with a little bit of bird talk and some fun, hot drinks. We can't have, an event like this without hot drinks. No, we don't have coffee. We wouldn't have coffee at 7 o'clock, right? You would. I would, but yeah. I got my own. For those of you who haven't seen the video, I think what we'll do is we'll play the video first. It's about 6 minutes long, but it gives you a refresher on what birds are in this competition, okay? So, like I said, 95 entries. Made our job really hard. We've got some really awesome pictures and a good team of judges to help with that. And this year, Riley made it really easy because I didn't have to be involved in seeing any names or organizing. She did all the organizing of the pictures, and there they just all were. And so all the judges knew nothing. And we're able to just look at them, and that's how we want to do it, and to be as fair as possible. So, who's going to be on the 2023 month? Let's have a look. It could be one of these 95 pictures.
Is this the most you've ever had?
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah, you start these off and you end things. Yeah. What does that mean? The order of the stand. So. There were a few red pole shots in the running this year because we had red poles last year. But who was the number one entry? What bird was represented the most? This year. Anybody notice? Anybody notice which bird was represented the most? No. There were cedar wax. There were multiples on cedar waxwings, on blue jays. There were multiples on pileated woodpecker. Was multiple. Let's see if we run across one here. And it actually is an individual bird. It is not just the species. There's a clue. Oh. Prairie warbler. Did anybody go to see the prairie warbler at Sioux Visit Trail? It was quite sore. It was another red pole. It was hamming it up for the cameras, I'll tell you what. It really was. I think somebody had a repeat on Blackburnian warbler this year too.
Yeah. You and I chose not just
There's the prairie warbler. Yeah. Jeff is represented here tonight. And with the prairie warbler, that shot Jeff. How is that? Is that better? Give me a thumbs up or something. And hello, Jeff. Hello, Sarah. People online here. I want to see. Can't I see who else is on? Oh, it's because we switched. Okay. I think. Good deal. I actually know that individual bird too. I think you do too. Another red pole shot. I love the excitement of so many people submitting the shots from their backyard, or just such a diversity of types of shots that I love the involvement of everybody in the community, whatever level photographer they are, whatever level of enjoyment they have with birds, submit them. We love to have this kind of, I don't want this to end up being just the professional photographers club. I love having pictures from everybody. So whether you think you're going to win or not with your shots, we'd love to see them from you. Mike was a runner-up last year. Grand Haven in the background there. That'll nice. The Pipers are represented here tonight. I like the look on his face, don't you? He's staring you down. We got some nice scenery shots like that too. Fantastic. This one, it got into the video labeled the wrong species of hawk. That's why it was. No, that was a Cooper's hawk. That was an immature Cooper's hawk. It was labeled as a sharpshin. So, yeah. There was one other bird that slipped through that way. June Kuiper. Another prairie warbler, same bird. Eric, yeah, I was there. That was on a bird walk at Grand River Park. There we are. Winners will be revealed at a special event, and you are here Tuesday the 22nd. And there is the schedule of Coffee with the Birds events coming up. You can always find more information. We've organized it better online. You can check out our website if ever you want to connect to the photo contest, to the mug club, to Coffee with the Birds events. There's icons across the website now. If you just go to the birding website, you can click on that and it'll take you to the appropriate blog page that has the updated information. So, now, the moment everybody's been waiting for, right? You gotta have the pause, the dramatic pause. You know how they do on all of those reality TV shows before cut to commercial. Cut to commercial. We're gonna cut to commercial. So, here are the 2022 honorable mention photos for the photo contest. And we'll go through each one of these 4 photos. These are the runner-up photos. Can you see? These are the runner-up photos. And we're going to go through each of those and introduce who the honorable mention winners are. First of all, June Kuiper. June is here tonight. I want to give her a round of applause. Fantastic shot. So crisp and clean background. Really gorgeous shot. I must say it's got to be one of the prettiest cardinal shots a lot of us had ever seen. Really pretty shot. So thank you very much, June. Beautiful picture with the crest raised too. A little hard to get, I'm imagining. Yeah. Did you wait in your blind like you did last year for the chestnut-sided one?
Our blind is our sunroom and with the window open. It's pretty nice to sit that way.
Yeah. And that is a key for really crisp photos is don't shoot through the glass.
Yeah.
Remove the glass, shoot out the window. But if it's real cold outside, you got to be careful so you don't get distortion of the heat coming out of your house. So yeah, it can be tricky. Very nice photo. Another honorable mention, Chris Brick with the common redpoll. We like this was also a representative. It's a fantastic photo with the snow coming down. It was reminiscent of the tufted titmouse a couple years ago, we thought. But also just really crisp and clean shot. It also represented a bird that we saw a lot around last year. So it was a win-win on this. And just a beautiful, beautiful photograph. This is a male common redpoll because you can see the red on the breast here. And Lonnie Garris with his Carolina Wren. And you know what month this is taken in? Anybody take a guess what month this was taken in? It reveals itself.
There's snow there.
Okay, there's snow. What's the bird doing? Singing.
Oh, it's gotta be March.
March. There you go. You guys are smart. I like it. March. I
See if
forgot
it's
to
snow
put the
at
date
that
in here, but March. This is a March bird. And our final honorable mention is Carl Manning with his evening grosbeak. Anybody have any idea what month this photo was taken in? October. That's when the evening grosbeaks showed up. So late October, they showed up in our area. They showed up at the Manning's feeders, and he captured this fantastic, really crisp shot again with a really nice clear background of a male evening grosbeak. Who got to see the grosbeaks? Yeah, right. Are they still around?
No,
They're gone.
There for about 3 weeks.
Okay. So Karen also hosted some at her feeder there, and I was able to visit. So if you saw my evening grosbeak video, did you see your feeders featured on that
No,
video?
I
I took some video footage at her house and of the evening grosbeaks and put that up on YouTube. So you have to check it out. Yeah, they descended on the feeders in mass while I was standing there. As you said, after I leave, now you got to stand real still. You get behind that post, and sure enough, they came in. So fantastic. Okay, this is the moment. Now we need the drum roll because the 2022 photo contest winner is Mike Virgin. Mike Virgin. With his photo of the cedar waxwing. Can everybody see? Mike Virgin was honorable mention last year with his yellow-rumped warbler. And so you may have seen him on the interview video last year. And all of us on the judging panel were stunned with this photo because it combines sharp, crisp image of the bird with nice pale background so it stands out, and it's a beautiful bird. Who has noticed just that blue-gray color on the wings and on the tail? And it's the blue bird, isn't it? Got some Wolverine in it, you know? Now you know why it won. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But it also is an action shot. So it combined all of these elements with this berry in mid-air between the beaks. Just fantastic shot. Very high shutter speed. I'm eager to find out the story of taking this photo. I don't know if Mike is online. Is Mike online out there? I don't see any response, so he may not know yet. We kept it entire secret, and we're hoping people would show up, but Mike Virgin is our new winner this year. And he will win a mug and a membership, along with a bird pin, bird feeder. He can help schedule spring and fall members-only bird walks, and he gets a free birding field trip. We've also got nice prizes this year. One of the reasons we've got such nice prizes is because we have a sponsor to give them to us, and that is to Brian Seed in Zealand. And so just a round of applause for Brian Seed. I've been mentioning them a lot this winter. We get our seed here from Brian. And I mentioned supporting us with prizes and things like that. He said, absolutely, there was no hesitation. And so Mike is going to do homemade cedar feeder, hopper feeder, along with a bag of seed. And if anybody here is here tonight who was a runner-up, we also have, yes, you get a nice cedar feeder. And there's no made-in stickers on this or anything. This, I believe, is made locally by somebody. And just beautiful feeders. We've also got packages of seed, and there are more prizes to be given out in our raffles at the event. So come on out. We got things to give away. So, but you know what you want to see? I show that good over here. You want to see the mud?
Oh, yeah,
So we got a wraparound mug. The cedar waxwing on both sides, again, like we did last year with the red-headed woodpecker. I'm going to show this to our online folks. Here's the 2023 mug. So the colors came through real nice, and I think will be a nice addition to the collection of mugs that we have. Now, this is our 6th mug. Can you believe it? So congratulations to Mike Virgin. And if you have bought your mug, anybody in here already pre-bought your mugs? All right, if you pre-bought your mugs, you don't have to jump and do it right now, but when we're done here tonight and when you're on your way out, Beth Miller is at the back, and she can hand them out to you. She just needs to make sure your name is crossed off the list. We've printed out who's already bought them online. If you haven't bought it online, no worries. We can also bring you up here tonight as well. $25 is Mug Club membership, and so we appreciate your support. It allows us to continue doing this program and feeding the birds. So we really appreciate you all being a supporter of that program. And the birds in the feeder, they all thank you by being a Mug Club member. There we go. And so, Coffee with the Birds coming up. We're going to be doing this on the 10th of December. It's going to be the same format, session 1 feeder watching, but we're also going to be doing live streaming of feeder session 1. So there'll be potentially a little bit less room in there, but we're still working on those kinks. Had a little bit of issue with getting some of the tech in here. Hopefully that's all straightened out by the 10th. I'm going to go to a conference next week, and when I get back, everything's going to be just fine. Right, Riley? Yes. I'm depending on you. We'll do a 10:30 tidbit presentation and an 11:10 a.m. feeder watching session 2. So you can come in early or come in late and enjoy a feeder watching session, but we hope that you at least come in by 10:30 for the presentation as well. We do have some tentative topics coming up. The photo contest winners photo stories. So those of you who were winners, this year, honorable mention or the grand prize winner, you're going to be getting a phone call or an email. We want those stories. Some of you have been through it before. I know June has. But we'd love to hear those stories. And actually, Riley's going to be helping with that project this year. So we're going to set up some dates for this to happen. And we'd love for you to be able to come out. If it works out during the day, great. But otherwise, we'll try to work out an evening or two that we can have you come out and interview you. I'll leave the questions and the instructions, and Riley will do the videoing. No worries. We'll make you look good. I think we did all right last year, didn't it? Okay. So that will be coming up on December 10th. We'll find out a little bit more behind the scenes of how these photos were taken. I also recently got a really good suggestion, and I'm drawing an entire blank on who suggested it. If you're here tonight, tell me. But January 21st, usually I do January is a bird ID. So something to do with helping you to learn how to identify birds. And somebody suggested to me, well, how about the Merlin Bird ID app, how to use it? What's proper protocol? That's what we're going to do. The Merlin Bird ID app has exploded in popularity in the bird world and has created a lot more birders than there were before. So we're going to talk about the Merlin Bird ID app. If you don't know what it is, check it out, download it on your phone. It's free, and start messing around with it. And then in January, come and learn a little bit more about how to use it and when it's appropriate. It helps you identify birds by hearing, by photograph, and also by description. And then there's also a little, a nice library of photos that you can go through, and you can look up your certain bird and look at the range map. You can hear its song. You can see more photos of it. So it's like your bird guide right on your phone. Really nice app. I'm not sure what aspect I'm going to talk about, but something Birding Alaska will be in February. Went there about a year and a half ago, and finally getting around to doing a presentation on some of that. It won't be the whole trip. It can never be the whole trip. Alaska's too big. So it'll be one aspect of it. Some of you know I do have a couple of videos out there already on the first couple of days of my trip. I'm trying to finish up that third video, but man, it takes a lot of time. So I'm not there yet, but if you haven't checked those out, feel free to check them out. But we're going to dive in a little deeper on one of the aspects of the trip. And then, of course, March 18th, the last Coffee with the Birds is going to be a profile of the cedar waxwing. That's what I do. When the bird winner gets to be on its own program. And you know what's funny? There were comments made before this year of how the cedar waxwing tends to be the runner-up every year, and now it's the winner. So it's been runner-up at least a couple of years prior. And so it's only fitting that we finally get it on the pedestal, on the podium. So, excellent. So there's the website again, myottawa.org/birding. And if you are here tonight and you are one of the runners, our honorable mention, talk to me afterwards. We'll get you your prizes. And on your way out, make sure to pick up your mugs. All right. See you December 10th. And now, if I can find my cursor. There it is. You ever have that where you're trying to, and then it disappears on you again? Yeah. There it is. Okay. One of the things I also wanted to do is, instead of dragging you out here just to see the mug reveal, is also to give you a little story. I like to tell stories of my birding adventures, and I thought I could throw together a few slides about my recent trip to North Carolina and back. And so we're going to go over that. Are there any questions before I move on about the mug, about Mug Club, Coffee with the Birds, anything like that? Or does
Streaming. When somebody wants to access it, what do they go to? YouTube?
Oh, for if you're online for Coffee with the Birds, yes, it'll be on YouTube. And actually, we are hoping to be able to send out the links like we have in the past. But if you don't get the link or you lose the link, just look up the MI Ottawa YouTube channel, and you should be able to find it there.
You can't see it right now. You see it later.
Oh, for the event tonight?
Yeah.
Yes, the event tonight, it will post. You can see it. It is online right now, yes. There are people online watching. I don't know how many people. It doesn't say. 12 people watching online. I see a few of you, Jeff and Sarah and Cindy, Kristen, another Jeff. And the Mannings are on there. Congratulations. Hey, Lucas. Lucas just said hi. Jeff says hi. So we've got a bunch of people saying hello. Good to kind of see you all tonight. I'm going to see if I can move this up a little bit more so that you can see the screen and not get in anybody else's way. So do you mind if I pull this? Is this going to be in anybody's way if I pull this up like that? Is that in anybody's way? I know it's in your way. You can use it for a footstool if you want. So I hope that looks all right. I'll go off like this so that I'm off to the side. Does that look all right, everybody online? It's maybe not as crisp as possible, but oh, hello, Lonnie. Congrats on your runner-up, Lonnie. I see Lonnie Garris is watching online. So, any other questions before we? YouTube. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, if ever you're wanting to look up old presentations or the live ones, the MI Ottawa YouTube channel is where they're broadcast. So I titled the program "The Ultimate North Carolina Birding Road Trip" because there was a plan that I had this last spring that kind of fell into place, and I had about 12 days to get out to North Carolina and back. And this trip eventually included 17 states, over 4,000 miles, and lots of birds. But it wasn't just lots of birds. It was more than that. So there's you can see my breadcrumbs. That's what I call my breadcrumbs. Okay? You can see my route. I did not make a beeline for North Carolina. And I'll tell you why in a moment. But this is actually my eBird map of my trip report. And I created a trip report, and it puts on there every single checklist that I did along my trip between the set dates that I put into my trip report. So if you haven't figured out trip reports, it's a lot of fun. Check it out. I've started doing that for some of the Ottawa County walks and things too. So that's what that is. You can see exactly where I went. I went straight south and then over and then up. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But one of the things that I wanted to do is do a trip with my son. So here he is. I'm 19. He was 18 at the time, just about 19. He turned 19 in June. And he was born in North Carolina. Maybe some of you don't realize that I was born and raised in West Michigan, but I spent 8 years in North Carolina. Lived there and worked for the state park system at a couple of different parks. And I've been meaning to get back out there for many years. And I had not been to Eastern North Carolina since 2007 when we left until just this past April. And before I was going to lose my son to go wherever he goes, and he did move out like within a month or so after we got back from this trip. So he's on his own now. I love him, but you know, what do you do? There's nothing you can do now. Yes, that's the stage of life I'm in. I am saying goodbye to my first son, although he lives just down the road, so we still see him. He still lives nearby. Yeah, lives and works nearby. So. But I said, before things get too busy, where he's going to get busy with his job and all the stuff with moving out, let's do this. Let's do a trip back to the place where you were born. And he moved away from there. We moved away from there when he was just about 4 years old. So his memories are very foggy. And I wanted him to have that experience of seeing the places and things that were kind of fuzzy back there. Because, you don't remember a whole lot earlier than 4 years old. So he was going to fly down because he was working. He was going to fly down and meet me. And I said, I'm driving down and I'm going to take the long way. and I'm going to make a road trip out of it. I'll meet you in Raleigh on my way to Eastern North Carolina. That was the plan. So here I start out, early morning on March the 30th, and I didn't do a checklist for Michigan. It was pitch black. But I made a stop in Indiana, and it was one of those, it's pitch black, but all the lights are on at the service station, and so there were a couple of robins singing. So put them on the list. It's the first birds of my trip. I'm full of energy. I don't care what bird you are. You're going on my list. Even the robins. The robins are so confused when they're by these big bright places because they think the sun is always rising. The poor things. 2 robins. Well, Illinois was a lot of this. Illinois is a long state. I'm headed straight south. It's a lot of farm country. I got to see the sunrise, the pink sunrise over the horizon, which was really pretty. But I was determined to make my way all the way to the south end where the birding might get a little interesting rather than up in the middle of all the farm country there. So I did. I got down to Wayne Fitzgerald State Park, which is down, maybe 2/3 down where things start to get interesting with the terrain. And I ended up getting 25 species here in about 45 minutes. And I've got state number 2 done. 25 species, and I was on my way. I was going to bird every single state that I went through. That was my goal. My goal changes a little bit. You'll see why. Well, then I crossed the Ohio River and into Kentucky. I'd been to Kentucky before. I'd seen a few birds in Kentucky. Same with Illinois. I had a few birds already on that list and things, but I wanted to make my eBird map a little brighter color. If you know what I'm talking about, you go into your eBird account and you can look at the map of the United States, and each state is a different shade of yellow to red depending on how many birds you've seen in that state. And I don't like those pale colors. Those pale colors mean you've only got a couple of bird species. So we're going to fill this in. Kentucky was one of those states, and right along the way, just right off of the expressway is this land between the lakes. I said, that looks like a fantastic spot to go. Only thing is, it was getting warmer, and the budding was starting to happen. I could see spring was coming by the time I got down that way, but it was so windy. The birding was pretty tough, but I made the best of it. I didn't think too much of how many bird species, but I saw a few, and I think I ended up with maybe 30, 40, 30 species-ish in Kentucky. And when you get further down in the land between the lakes here, this is all national recreation area. So it's all woodland, and there's historical sites and things. If you ever get a chance, it's actually a really neat spot. It was getting a little warmer. You can see I'm in a t-shirt now. I'm further south. I'm in Tennessee now. So I'm crossing the Tennessee line somewhere right about this line, and I had never birded in Tennessee, so it was everybody counted, from house sparrows to pigeons to who knows what. So I was going to count every bird that I could see. And I birded land between the lakes, and there was a nice home place interpretive center. So I would stop and see those sites along the way too. It wasn't just about the birds, although it was mostly about the birds, but there's often some historical sites and things along the way to check out. And this place also had a bison herd. So that was kind of neat to see. And there was some nice habitat along here with some of the grassland birds. So I was picking up things like bluebird and everything is new. When you go to a new state that you've never birded in, everything is new. And so it makes you really happy to see things like robins again, right? What bird can I get next? And there were a few birds that were starting to show up that I don't see in Michigan yet at the end of March. And so some of the migrants, the yellow rump warblers, were starting to pop up, and more eastern phoebes and things like that. I could tell I was going in the right direction. Tennessee was really kind of fun. I was driving along, and all of a sudden I see this Fort Donelson National Battlefield. I'm like, that looks cool. Pull in. That was the kind of trip it was. I was a bit spontaneous. And so I pulled up, and it was a nice view of the river. There were these cannons. There was a lot of woodlands around. And so I was birding with the window down as I drove through. And a guy stopped and talked to me about eagles. And he said, yeah, there's an eagle nest over there. So he showed me the eagle nest. I said, oh, that's great. And then, I think I can just press this. No, it's not gonna. Here, I think I have to press it on here. That should be a video of the eagle flying over. You can see the eagle. He was flying over. It looks like he's got a big bushy tail there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nesting material. So that was kind of a neat thing to see. If I could get the video to play, PowerPoint doesn't like videos a whole lot, so I was wondering if that's it. But it was carrying nesting material to the nearby nest. So you would see it fly over with the nesting material draped behind. And I knew about this before I left. And so I left extra early to beat this storm. I pedal to the metal. I got to get ahead. I got to get down into Tennessee and see a lot of birds before this hits. And I did. I made it. And all of a sudden, Fort Donelson National Battlefield, it clouded over and this system came through. You can see here I am, and it all came right across. And this video is not going to work either, is it? Nope, it's not. If you saw the video, you can imagine torrential rain with wind just blowing it across. I was just cooped up in my car. I didn't even want to drive. It was torrential downpours. There were actually tornadoes up in Paducah, where I had just come from.
At the land of the lakes.
And land of the lakes, land between the lakes, they had tornadoes and things. And but I was trying to get far enough south to get out of the majority of that. And I did successfully do that, although I still got pelted. I stayed dry in my car, and my car did not blow away, thankfully. So I drove down, after the storms went through, I drove all the way down to the very southern part of Tennessee. And I said, in the morning, I'm going to get up, see what's going on in the campground, and then I'm going to go over to Mississippi, because Mississippi, just that northeast corner of Mississippi is right there. And I've never birded Mississippi, so I'm going to do this. Okay, that's what the kind of trip it was. This is how I slept on my trip. It was truly a road trip. Put the seat down, put my sleeping bag out, and of course I have cold breakfast. I got cold coffee. I'm like, I got to have coffee. I don't feel like getting things going, so I got cold coffee, got boiled eggs, I've got yogurt, and of course cinnamon rolls without raisins. So I was good to go, ready for another day. And Mississippi. I had been to Mississippi before, but never birded there. I'd only driven through it in high school on our way to a service project in Louisiana. And so it's no better time than to bird it now. So Mississippi, this is Goats Island Recreation Area, literally at the very northeast corner of the state. So I'm surrounded by other states, and had such an awesome time this morning. I don't have a whole lot of bird pictures because I was just birding. So I'm showing you scenic pictures and telling you the story of the process of birding more than I am showing all kinds of individual birds. But I was finding little beaver dams like this with the birds all flitting through the branches. You know, northern parula was showing up, and gnatcatchers and all these other early spring migrants were pouring in there. So it was really exciting to see some of these birds I hadn't seen since last fall. 52 species in 2 hours. I was raking them in. And when that happened, I said, if 50 species is that easy, now that I'm this far south, I wonder. There's a new road trip challenge now. Can I get 50 birds in each of the states that I visit? Maybe. I had to have a goal. You know, if you're a birder, you understand that. Okay, so my new challenge, to get 50 birds in every state that I'm birding in. I already got that one. Oh, wait, I just came through Tennessee and I only had 36 for Tennessee. Oh, what am I going to do? And Kentucky was too far behind, so I couldn't go back to Kentucky, and that was not 50. That's the one state that is getting me. So 36, which you know what is the good thing about driving the highway to the east? there's a spot where the highway goes back up into Tennessee for a little bit. Anybody know where I'm talking about? Chattanooga. And I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm going back up into Tennessee. I'm going to finish off the 50, come back down into Georgia, which would be the next state after Alabama. Okay, so I've got Mississippi. Started out in Tennessee, Mississippi. Now we are going to go to Alabama. First time I'd ever been to Alabama. Alabama and Georgia were two new states for me. And I only have now two states that I need to visit in all of the United States. One of them is Hawaii and one of them is North Dakota. Yes, North Dakota. North Dakota. And it's a lot of people's last state to get to. You see? And I worked with somebody who used to live in North Dakota, and he said, there's a place you can buy that sticker that says, your last official state or your, certificate or whatever, your last of the 50 in North Dakota. So Alabama, I could check it off the list, and of course I'm playing Sweet Home Alabama across the line. I'm feeling good. Bear Creek Embayment. I had Northern Parula, Yellow-Throated Warbler. Yes, I was just loving it. There was this old bridge that went across it. See, when you're birding on a road trip, you're looking for natural areas, but you're also looking for little pull-offs like this that can be absolute gems. And so I pulled off of the highway here and went over to this old bridge and birded the parking lot here, and you can walk this bridge, as you can see here. It just says no swimming or jumping, which I didn't do. I walked around that barrier, though. Didn't say I couldn't do that. It just didn't want cars to go over, so I'm good. And there were all kinds of kinglets and things flitting around. Alabama was nice and sunny and warm. That front had just gone through, so everything was fresh and beautiful. And the Natchez Trace Parkway is the next destination. I cross over the Natchez Trace. It's a National Park Service drive it's a historic drive that goes from, I can't even remember how far it is. I know you've done it. But I drove, it's like the Blue Ridge Parkway, thank you. I'm drawing entire blank. It's a National Park Service run, and you get on only at a few different spots, and there's historic sites along the way, natural sites to walk, and I said, I've got to do this. So I went to Rock Spring Trail, I went to Buzzard Roost Spring, a few other places along the way. I stopped at the bridge over one of the big rivers there, and there was a loon sitting on the water, so I took some pictures and video of the loon. It was a beautiful time. And I'm realizing I'm still way in western Alabama. I'm going to have to get moving a little bit if I want to get to the other side. But I wasn't to 50 yet, so of course I'm pulling off at little places along the expressway here, birding in here with the traffic going by. Oh, I think I can find such a species over here. And pull off the side of the road because there's these floodles over here. I call them floodles in the early spring where these floods get all full of water. And I was getting herons and egrets and things out there and some shorebirds. So you're just constantly looking for birds and traffic too. 63 species in Alabama. I was gold. All right. I'm like, well, let's get to the next state. So then I punched the gas and kept going. Back to Tennessee. So here I am in the I lost the name of the city again, Memphis. Chattanooga, thank you, Chattanooga is right at the corner of Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama. And so Nickajack Cave Wildlife Refuge and this Nickajack Lake area proved really productive for Tennessee birds. And I was watching my count go, and I'm like, I just need a few more, and let's finish this. I needed 14 more, and I got 19 more, 55 for Tennessee. I was good. All right, let's keep moving. Oh, but before we go, I got to see these little sites. Off the road kind of thing. The tri-state marker between the three states, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. Have you ever tried to bird in three states at one time? It's confusing. I'm thankful that there actually weren't a whole lot of birds right at that spot because it would have driven me absolutely bonkers. And Georgia was a new state for me. Georgia was a new state for me. So, welcome to Georgia. It's a clean slate again. Start out at 0. I went down the road from that corner there, and the road was a state line road, and between Tennessee and Georgia. And I took a right-hand turn to go south into Georgia, and I just birded that road for a little while, and got a few species. So it was no place in particular other than a dirt road through some farm country. Then I made my way across northern Georgia because there was another spot I wanted to stop at. Springer Mountain. Anybody here of Springer Mountain? Springer Mountain is where the southern terminus of the Appalachian Trail is. And there's free camping there. You can just pull off wherever you are. This was my camping spot. Up in the mountains of Georgia. It was beautiful. It was a little cold, but the next morning I got up and I walked that mile of trail to get to the terminus. It's actually a mile off of the parking lot is where the terminus is. And so I walked up there, took my little selfie. I said, here I am. And of course, I'm seeing birds along the way. There's brown thrasher singing in the brush. And wasn't hugely birdy because you're up in elevation. Just as soon as I came down in elevation, the bird life just went bonkers. And so Georgia wasn't one of those states where I stopped at just one spot. I stopped here, I stopped there, I stopped here and there, all the way across northern Georgia. I was birding the roadside as much as I could to get to 50. And guess what? 50 species on the button, time to move to South Carolina. South Carolina, across the bridge into South Carolina. I had been to South Carolina when I lived in North Carolina, but had only recorded like 9 or 10 species of birds from historical records. And so I had a lot of time to make up a lot of species to make up to get to 50. I found this gem of a place. If you're ever in the area of Greenville, South Carolina, Lake Conestee is a tremendous series of trails and wetlands and the bird life was just fantastic. Really neat spot, right off the highway too. So it was really convenient. I'm checking eBird, where are the hot spots? And that looks like a hot spot because its hot spot bubble is really red, because it shows how many species by the color, how many species are seen at that site. And so it was all kinds of wetlands and boardwalks. You can see that there's a heron rookery over there. 47 species at just that spot, but I had 9 historical records from 2006, so guess what? That made 56 total. So I wasn't going on, I had to, in that moment, have 50. I was like, I just wanted the grand total to be 50 for each of these states. South Carolina. Oh, wait. Did anybody notice the date? April 1st. Anybody remember what was going on with the airlines about that time? My son's flight got canceled. Took it right off the docket. I was supposed to drive from South Carolina up to Raleigh, pick him up, and then go another 2.5 hours east to our bed and breakfast in eastern North Carolina. I'm like, what do I do now? I'm like, are you kidding me? It's April 1st. Ha ha. No, it was actually not a joke. What a day to throw that joke on you. So flight was canceled, and guess what? It was a Friday, and I was supposed to pick him up about midnight on Friday night or Saturday early morning. And we were going to have Saturday, Sunday, and Monday together. And his flight wasn't going to get back, or his flight wasn't rescheduling until Sunday. Sunday. Like, this is not fun. What are you doing? Don't do this. We had just such a short window together. We'll get there. It was canceled. I'm like, well, what can I do? I guess that means I'm going to just drive to my bed and breakfast and go birding. What else is there to do? So the next morning, guess what? I was dead tired. I did not set an alarm for early morning birding, nothing. I'm like, this is my relaxed morning. So it was my coffee with the birds. I sat on the deck of my bed and breakfast, and there were birds singing all around, brown-headed nuthatches. I hadn't heard them in years, and the bluebirds were building a nest nearby, and I just sat there and I soaked it all in. I loved it. It was so relaxing. But eventually I'm like, okay, it's time to move. And so I did. Wasn't anything that I could do to remedy the situation with my son, so might as well go to where I used to work, Goose Creek State Park. So I visited Goose Creek State Park, and oops, I think I didn't mean to put that slide that on top. We'll see once what it does. And one of the things that I found interesting going back there is the breadcrumbs I had left from when I worked there. I designed this sign back in 2006, and you can even see, if you go to Goose Creek State Park, you'll see, oh, yep, that's why. Hold on. I'm gonna have to, yep, I'll get back to it because I mixed that up.
Did you carve your initials in the border?
Yeah. Apologies here. There we go. I think this is what I needed. This is the slide I meant to have it on. There's the the Education Center, Environmental Education Center, where I worked for a few years. It was brand new at the time, state of the art, and believe it or not, I did the first coffee with the birds there.
Wow.
That was kind of where that idea got born. It was something that we did with a few local, but it was never attended like you guys. West Michigan, got it. Like only a few people came, and it was not something that lasted real long, or that we spent a whole lot of. And we didn't invest a whole lot in it, but yeah, actually we did coffee with the birds there, watching the bird feeders. So that is where I worked for a number of years. And this is the Pamlico River, which flows out into the Pamlico Sound. And this park is about 50 miles inland from Cape Hatteras. So if you know where Cape Hatteras is, you draw a line straight west off of Cape Hatteras, and you run right up the Pamlico River. And this is, yes, the river, but it's the estuary. So it's where the river starts to meet the salt water, and the flow is not really much here. So it's estuary. You can see the other side there, but it looks like a huge lake. We're not out into the Sound yet, but this is right where it starts to empty into the Sound. And we got all the live oak trees with all the beautiful, beautiful Spanish moss hanging in the trees. And I love to revisit the park that I had once worked at. And so then there's this palmetto palm tree trail. There's some palmetto palms along the trail. This trail had also been a forest long ago. But with all the hurricanes coming in and the saltwater intrusion, all those trees were dying. And so there was actually a post out here, this post right here, that said, take a picture and then upload it to this website, and we're tracking what the site looks like over the years. And I had actually before I even left, I had done an interpretive sign dealing with the changes that were going on at this site. And it was kind of sad to see. It's beautiful, but it was sad to see because I knew this was a canopy forest, wetland forest before here. So very interesting. And then that is where I took this photo, actually, right along that trail long ago. And these photos as well. And then you can see. No, it didn't. My name is right down in the corner here, right there. It was kind of surreal going back there after that many years and then seeing that. I'm like, you still got this thing up here? That's old. But yes, I was educating people on the difference of snakes. You don't have moccasins here, but we had cottonmouth, eastern cottonmouth there. So that was one of the hottest topics to talk about in programs that had the largest turnouts at programs dealing with how to identify venomous snakes. Then on April 3rd, it was time to go pick up Caleb from the airport. But you know what? I've got time to get there because he's not getting in until the afternoon. Yeah, the afternoon of Sunday, not even Sunday morning. So I took the ferry across the Pamlico River to the south side and had seen that there was a spot on eBird that had a lot of shorebirds. And I'm like, I am going to check that out. And I did. It's Aurora and Goose Creek Game Lands, and yeah, need I say any more? The shorebirds were fantastic there. Had black-necked stilts along with all kinds of yellow legs. Had dowitchers, had stilt sandpiper, glossy ibis. So fantastic birding there. Really enjoyed it, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go pick up Caleb. So, and I did. Got him from the airport, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and we went straight for Goose Creek State Park because I had an agenda. I'm like, you're here for this amount of time, we're gonna go do all these things that he wanted to do and places he wanted to see. First of all was going back to Goose Creek State Park and seeing our old house. That's where I lived for a number of years on the park. I actually lived in park housing. And this picture, now I didn't have time to find the 1-year-old picture that I took of him at this very spot. In our living room, we've got his photo up there. That's where his 1-year-old picture was taken. So I had to get the retake. Now at age 18. We talked to the park ranger before we just ended up in his yard. He was like, oh yeah, totally fine. We had a nice conversation with him. It was fun. The next day, we drove north to Merchants Mill Pond State Park. Merchants Mill Pond State Park is where I actually first started to work. It's up near the Virginia line. And chatted with some of my former coworkers who are retired or not, and had a good time. And the good thing about Merchants Mill Pond is renting the canoes and going out into the Cypress Tupelo gum swamp. We were looking for alligators, didn't see the alligators, but there were parulas and yellow-throated warblers singing all around, prothonotary warblers as well. Those 3 species are dime a dozen on this mill pond, and I still had the map in my head how to get around out there. It felt good to be able to, yeah, I know where I'm going. We did not get lost because a lot of people get lost out there. But I had canoed that place enough, the map was still in my head. Beautiful, beautiful place. If you've never been to if you go to eastern North Carolina, up just south of Hampton Roads area, about an hour maybe from like Norfolk area, go down into North Carolina, near the Dismal Swamp, if you've ever heard of it, south of the Dismal Swamp, stop at Merchants Mill Pond State Park. It is worth every minute you're there. It's not too far from the Outer Banks either, which is this day, April 4th, we're going up to Merchants Mill Pond. We're going to go out to the Outer Banks, and we're going to do everything today. And there we are on the Outer Banks. So, and of course, you see what's strapped around my shoulder. Caleb knows me well enough to do that. Can't leave that in the car. I mean, really? No, but we were spending time with each other, and I was seeing birds along the way. I went for a little walk while he rested, and so I did see a few birds like piping plover and oyster catcher, American oyster catcher. And then I am way out at the end of the spit at Oregon Inlet, if you know where that is. Way out at the end of the spit, probably about a third to half a mile away from Caleb, who's resting in the car. And all of a sudden, these dolphins start porpoising out of the water. Right, I'm like calling him on the phone, can you get out of here? He wanted to see dolphins. He ran out there. He was so out of breath. But he did get to see the dolphins porpoising out of the water. This is Body Island Lighthouse. Pea Island National Wildlife Refuge is right there. Fantastic birding, especially, well, any time of the year, but in the winter, waterfowl overwinter there, all kinds of them, including our tundra swans. So you'll see a lot of bird life out there. And then April 5th, brought Caleb back to the airport. It was that short. Oh, the other thing we had to do is have Eastern North Carolina barbecue. So if you ever go out there, you got to go to an Eastern North Carolina barbecue place, and the barbecue there is vinegar based, and it is fantastic. And you have to put coleslaw on it on the bun. Okay, trust me, it's divine. You cannot get that stuff around here. I had been waiting over 10 years to go back and have that stuff. We pigged out on it, and it literally pigged out on it. It's pulled pork, sorry. But it was good stuff. And then on the way back, from the airport in Raleigh. Of course, I stopped at a couple of parks in Raleigh there. And then there's this site here called the Voice of America. And I didn't know this, but it actually, anybody heard of Voice of America? They transmitted radio and propaganda and things to countries around the world. It was a U.S. government operation, but it shut down here. And the property, I had gone to it and actually banded Henslow sparrows that were nesting on this back in the day. I'm talking 2000 when I did that. And so I'm like, I gotta go back and see these Henslow sparrows. And then I pull up and I'm like, it's a game land now. I can go anywhere I want out there. And sure enough, walked around out there. There's a story with the Henslow sparrows. Let's just say I got it on my list, okay? But that bird literally was there, and I could not see it. And he was going, slick. I would walk, and then he would fly and down. I never got a look other than him flying. Just amazing little hiders. But Henslow sparrows, I got it on my Beaufort County list, which I did not have on my Beaufort County list because I didn't have a date for when I had seen them before. Yeah. You can see some dark clouds. It rained a little bit, but it's really pretty out there, this vast grassland area. Oh, and then I started birding on my own, and I was driving down the road, and all of a sudden I looked over my shoulder, and I slammed on my brakes. I'm like, that is the most picture-perfect cattle egret shot I have ever seen in my life. I put it in reverse, backed up my car, took a shot, and then all of them started to scatter. So,
That's the only photo. Yeah.
this is the one photo I got.
Wow.
But it was absolutely picture perfect. These are cattle egrets sitting on this Texas Longhorn. Still can't believe I got that shot. So I think I consider this like my favorite trip photo.
How did I get that?
Yeah.
What's that, Mug Club? Yeah, Mug Club. Yeah. Do they have a Mug Club down in Beaufort County? It's a rare thing when I get a winner of a photo, but I'm like, I'm going to show that one. So I'm driving the back roads of Beaufort County because I'm trying to boost my Beaufort County list because I was at the top for a long time even after I left because I uploaded all my historical records, and so I was up at the top, and I'm like, yeah. No. I think I might be second or third now for Beaufort County, North Carolina, because I went back and I added things like house sparrow and pigeon, and yes, the species that you don't think to put on a list when you're not doing eBird, those were the ones that I needed. So cattle egret was one too. So that was nice to get. I went to Pocosin Lakes Wildlife Refuge. I'm going to have to, it's already 8:30, isn't it? I'll have to kind of skip through these. Pocosin Lakes Wildlife Refuge, which is one of the best places to see black bears. I got to see a black bear with 2 cubs. Glossy ibis right outside the window of my car. Fantastic photo opportunities. Prothonotary warblers. I had volunteered at this place back in the day. Lake Mattamuskeet, and I even forgot to put Lake Mattamuskeet down in my text there. Lake Mattamuskeet is a famous overwintering spot for waterfowl and tundra swans again. And this is a pump house, an old pump house. And there's this big causeway that goes across the huge lake, and there's spots where the water goes underneath. And I enjoyed watching the Bonaparte's gulls dipping into the water and taking pictures of them. A lot of fun. And then the next day, I am headed north. I am leaving North Carolina, and I'm going to do the north route back to Michigan. And we're going to skip through this real quick in the next 5 minutes. One of the spots I wanted to go to was Palmetto Pear Tree Preserve, because anybody know what nests in this? Red-cockaded woodpeckers. And I sat here for about an hour or so waiting, and then finally I started to hear the little pick notes. There's only one other person in this room that I know has seen a red-cockaded woodpecker, right, Beth? At least in Ottawa County. Ironically, I go through all this effort, I see red-cockaded woodpeckers, and then, lo and behold, Beth Miller back here sees it right here in Ottawa County. I'm there within the hour, and it's gone.
It barely comes when you don't even know what it is.
Does this picture look amazingly like yours? She got a picture of it, so there's proof. But it's an endangered species from North Carolina, or from the southeast, and fantastic to see. had to get that. 255 species for North Carolina. Not on that trip. I just added to my list. And so I have 255 species for North Carolina. I was like, I think that's enough. I can go on to Virginia. Then it was Virginia, go through the Bay Bridge Tunnel up to the Delmarva Peninsula and Kipto Peak State Park, where you get all kinds of migrants coming through and seabirds and things. Chincoteague, Assateague, wildlife refuges, National Seashore. There's so much birding and horse watching too. At Chincoteague, I have to say that right, Chincoteague. There's horses right next to the road. People are there. Oh, where are the horses? Where are the horses? The wild horses out there. There's the ocean. 64 species. I had a few species in Virginia prior to, but not nearly enough. And so the birding there was phenomenal. And I got up over 60 species. I'm like, it's time to go to Maryland. Assateague National Seashore. There I am. Drove through there. 55 species in Maryland at Assateague. And then I finally ended up in Delaware because I was staying in Lewis, Delaware, and I was going to take the ferry to Cape May, New Jersey the next day. And I watched the sun go down as I got my 50th and beyond species at Prime Hook National Wildlife Refuge. And the sun set to this scene. You can see the nest out here, but this pair was courting out there, and it was just absolutely beautiful, stunning. Delaware has got some really fantastic birding, but I definitely recommend Prime Hook National Wildlife Refuge. 62 species for Delaware. We are rolling. Next day, New Jersey, Cape May. The ferry is so much fun because of all the gannets. You can see all the gulls and the gannets that follow the boat. I don't think that video is going to work either. That's all right. I'll just go on. There we go. And there I am in Cape May. First time stopping in Cape May. I'd driven through when I wasn't driving. And so I'd never birded there, but I spent the morning in Cape May, New Jersey for the first time birding there. Beautiful, beautiful day, beautiful beaches. There's proof that I'm there. There's the lighthouse and more oyster catchers. Red-throated loon. Closer than I'd ever seen them before, right off the little pier there. Sanderlings going up and down the beach. And there were these trails in some of the wetland areas that had these blinds that you could sit and photograph ducks like the northern shoveler. Beautiful, beautiful. And I didn't leave New Jersey with just 50 species. I also left with 64 species and a new scope. There was an event going on that the local Audubon was sponsoring, and they had all kinds of optics, and so I got a new scope. Used that for the rest of the trip. Then on April 9 through 10, Pennsylvania was my next stop. That's where I spent the next night. I spent the night in West Virginia, but I got 51 species for Pennsylvania, 51 for West Virginia, and I didn't have a whole lot of trouble going in Ohio because I had already had over 50 species there. But I had to stop at McGee Marsh Wildlife Area as my last stop before the sun set. But I visited dams, I visited Frisbee golf courses, I visited more battlefields and everything along the way that I could find to get to these numbers, and made it back to Michigan, having accomplished what I wanted to after I had decided to do it. Of course, Kentucky was the one that didn't get there. But and so the sun had set then on my adventure to 17 states, over 4,000 miles, and a whole lot of birds. So, yeah. Say that again?
Do you know how many distinctly different birds did you see in total?
I think it was 260.
Wow.
Somewhere up in it was over 250 somewhere. Yeah, different species of birds on the trip. So, yeah. Huh? One species. Robin. So Indiana is actually a state that I have over 100 species in because I've birded it quite a bit. So yeah, but you're right. I didn't put the number in there, but I have over 50 in that state. So where is my next trip? Well, there's this. I've done a lot in Texas and Arkansas, and now I've got this list in Mississippi. So what state do those states surround that I have? Louisiana. It's just blaring at me with no birds seen in Louisiana. So maybe I'll have to go down. What's that? And North Dakota. So, well, thank you. I hope that you enjoyed the event tonight, revealing of the mug and the winners of the photo contest, and also the added little presentation here. I hope you enjoyed that as well. There's a whole lot more other stories to tell with this. It was hard to know where to say when, so I kind of did just kind of cover the bases of the trip, but it was a lot of fun. Anybody else ever done a birding road trip?
Once or twice.
Once or twice, yeah.
Go down to Aransas, had a bunch of sword students.
There you go. Nice, down to Aransas now, that's nice, down in Texas, yeah. Excellent, it's a lot of fun. You don't have to rough it like I do in the back of my car, you can get a hotel if you want. But, so thank you so much, I hope to see you out here on December 10th. I will be at a conference starting next week after Thanksgiving, so tomorrow is my last day until I come back on the 5th. So if you have questions, I'm sure Riley can answer them. They'll be able to answer them at the front desk, but plan on December 10th right here at the Nature Center or online. Thank you so much for coming. And again, if you are one of the winners, please come up and let me know. And feel free to get a mug on your way out as well. Oh, no, the mugs, no, just the winner gets it. The winner gets the mug, yeah. But the ladies first. There's these three are the same, there's this one.
My first thought was a squirrel, but that's 10 seconds.
We're gonna have it on the. But yeah, you can hang it or you can pull mount it.